Okay, so I'm going to start off by saying something that makes me feel very foolish, but I think is actually a good idea. It's hard to keep up on all the latest information. So after you have had your surgery and you have been to clinic a couple of times, coming back to clinic, there are a lot of same kinds of questions that you might not be that interested in. The mailing list, similarly, always having new people coming in. They're often asking the same questions about insurance and things like that that you may have lost interest in. So what we would like to offer is a suggestion of how you can stay up on the latest information, and we're going to use an example on this video talking about creatine and what's the latest on creatine. Well, if you didn't come to clinic this morning, how would you stay up to date on the latest research on creatine? And I would answer, follow me on Twitter, friend me on Facebook, or subscribe to our YouTube videos. The reason we think that's valuable is because every day, and for example this morning before I left the house, we look at and review the latest information on topics related to you and your surgery. Okay? And if you don't follow on that kind of information, you need to come back to clinic, and that can be hard if you live in Texas. But even if you live here, getting over to clinic and spending an hour or two here can be difficult. So follow me on Twitter, friend me on Facebook, or subscribe to our YouTube videos. Now, let's give an example of the value that you might have from that. For example, you're a successful surgical patient, you've had your MGB, you're losing weight, your hunger is down, you're taking your vitamins, but you're not taking your creatine. So let's argue why you would want to take creatine, why it's valuable to you, and what's the latest research as of this morning on some kind of new, interesting topics that have relevancy to you. Okay, number one is your weight loss that you've got so far, the 30 pounds. I mean, may I say, you look lovely, and hopefully you're doing well and all those things. But that 30 pounds of weight loss is 30 pounds of what that we've taken off of the body? What do you think that's 30 pounds of? We wish it was fat, right? We wish it was fat. It's water and, unfortunately, mostly muscle, which we don't like. A heavy person's body, though, when it goes into starvation mode, unfortunately is not good at burning fat. That's how they got to be heavy in the first place. So that when you lose weight after the MGB, a significant portion is muscle loss. So my patients who go to the gym and measure their bench press absolutely tell me unequivocally their strength goes down after the surgery, and we don't want that. Okay? Creatine builds muscle, so take creatine. And as a side effect, you may actually lose a little bit less weight, but you may lose an extra inch or so in your waist, so because you build strength. But creatine isn't just for building muscle, although that's where it kind of got its start in the research world. It was for muscle builders and things like that, then football players and things like that. But they've also studied it in other areas. So number one, a research article I sent out this morning, the creatine affects the brain as well as the muscle, because creatine is part of the energy system like ATP in the body's cells. So they found that the brain is affected by supplementing with extra creatine. So they took mice and gave them a stroke, and the stroke in the brain was smaller if you'd given that mouse creatine. Well, that might not have immediate relevance to you, but how about this? They took complex word puzzles to a nursing home and gave older men these word puzzles and then gave them creatine, and they did better in solving puzzles. That is, it made people smarter. They did it to rats, and they did better in maze solving. And so you may not have immediate desire to have a smarter older man in your life, but
Who's a rat?
But a rat, that's right, a smarter rat. But imagine that you could take a supplement that made you smarter. Okay? I took it this morning. How do you think I'm doing? No. Creatine has also been shown to have the same changes in brain that antidepressants do. So imagine that you would like to feel a little bit better. Creatine may potentially help a bit in that. They took mice and gave creatine to the mice, and the mice lived 10% longer lives. They took women with osteoporosis of the knee joint, okay, so pain, kind of worn out knee joint, loss of cartilage and things like that, and they gave them creatine, and they decreased their pain, increased range of motion, increased muscle mass in their legs, so they could do more. They measured levels of activity, and they found that creatine improved a mouse's activity level. So as far as fatigue versus energy, creatine helps with improved overall levels of energy. Okay? So for all these reasons, but particularly because our patients who are starving and losing weight are burning muscle when we don't want to, we think creatine might be one of the best supplements we can recommend to you. Now, you are right, it is somewhat inconvenient because they're fairly big capsules or it comes as a powder. So one recommendation is to get a sandwich or a snack-size Ziploc bag, and during the day you can take a couple of the creatine tablets along with the rest of your meals to make it a little easier to get through the day.
What's the recommended dosage?
There's no upper limit. You could take a lot of creatine. I found a pretty cheap source of creatine on Amazon.com, and so they mail it to you if you're a member of what's called Prime. So I got this giant bottle with each tablet is like 1.75 grams, and so a couple of those a day is going to be better for your health long term. So we really encourage people to use the creatine. And all these research topics I just mentioned have all been sent out on the Twitter and Facebook pages this morning, so you could kind of be up to date on that without having to come to clinic. Plus, this video will be out on YouTube, so you can kind of keep up on that too. Did I convince you?